Hi friends, I hope you'll enjoy coming along while I show you just the basic kind of overview of how I made this corset type top, and I think it turned out so pretty, so I'm excited to share it with you. I ended up going with that floral fabric, and here I'm just showing you I'm taking some basic measurements to kind of give me a guideline for making my own little pattern piece for this. So I'm just measuring kind of across my chest and measuring down about where I want it to hit for the neckline and where I want the bottom to hit so that I have kind of a reference point for making this little pattern piece. And then I wanted this to have kind of a heart shape. I have a crop top that I really like that's meant to look kind of like a corset. It's, it can't lace up or anything. It's very thin. It's definitely just kind of the general look of a corset, but I think it's really pretty and it has this great heart shape to it. So I wanted to kind of recreate that. So this is just half of my bodice. So I'm showing you there where I was pointing. That is the fold. So in a minute, you'll see me fold this out and it will be the full front piece for my bodice. So I'm kind of just showing you some measurements. I realize you're going to have totally different measurements than I have, right? So like, why am I showing you these measurements? I don't know. I was overthinking it, I guess, when I was filming this and was like, how are they going to understand how I made this pattern piece? I don't know. It's really not that complicated. Like I showed you, I just took some basic measurements on myself so I would have a guideline for how big this needed to be. And then I just did this basic heart shape and kind of extended it at the sides to make the full bodice, which you can see there. There's my full front bodice piece, then folded in half. I'm just showing you here how for the back of the bodice, I'm going to kind of fold up the bottom, kind of straighten out the bottom, and then also straighten out the top because I don't really want that heart shape as much in the back, which you'll see in a minute when I cut this out of the fabric. Hopefully that'll make some more sense and you'll see the pieces of the front and the pieces of the back in just a moment. So there's my little pattern piece that I made, and I think it ended up working out pretty well. I'm definitely going to be holding on to that little pattern piece. I think I can probably use that in the future. It's just a really great guideline for a pretty simple bodice. You could obviously kind of, change it up, cut it here, cut it there, add some seams, make it look a little bit more complicated, but I wanted to keep this pretty simple. So then I'm just getting my fabric ready. I wanted to make sure that I cut this obviously on the fold and that I'm getting two pieces so that I have the outer layer and the lining layer. And then in a moment, I'll go through and cut out my back pieces as well. I wanted to say too that you obviously could put boning in this. I have made corset tops like this before that I did put boning in, and I think they turned out really, really pretty. It's obviously just, more time consuming to do the boning, and it's more restrictive, when you're wearing it, of course, you're wearing boning. It's really pretty and really structured, but I wanted this to be a little bit more wearable, so I ended up not doing boning in this, but you could use zip ties. I don't know, I've only ever used zip ties, but they've always worked really well for me. So here you can see I made a little oopsie and I realized I wanted to not cut the back pieces on the fold because I'm going to need them to be able to be open in the back because I'm going to have this lace up the back. So I'm just cutting that out. I'm kind of going through and flattening out, straightening out the back here so that it doesn't have that heart shape to it right in the back. It's just going to be more straight. And I'm getting two of those as well, making sure that I have a lining layer to go along with my front layer. And you'll see in a moment I'm going to go through and lay out these pieces for you so you can see them more clearly. And then it'll be a matter of kind of putting the lining layer right sides together with the front layer and sewing those together. So in the middle there you can see that is my front piece for the front of this bodice corset top thing that I'm making. And I love that heart shape. That's exactly what I was going for. Like I said, I have another top that kind of has a similar heart shape, and I just think it's so pretty. And so I'm glad that I was able to kind of create something similar with this. So those are my front pieces. I'm going to put those right sides together, sew those along the edges, leaving one edge open so that I can flip it right sides out, iron it, sew the rest of the, the open part together, and that'll be my front piece ready to go. And then these are the back pieces. So I do have a little bit of a point on them. It's just not quite like at the bottom. I mean, I have a, it's pointed a little bit at the bottom there, which you'll be able to see more in the end. And then you can see this is open in the middle because I'm going to have it lace up in the middle there, up the back. So I have a lining layer for these pieces as well. So these also will be put right sides together, sewn up on 3 sides, flipped right side out, sewn up to close up the bottom, and then we'll be able to connect these back pieces to the big front piece. So this is just me showing you that process of sewing up on those, you know, kind of around the sides, and then I'm able to flip it and we'll iron it in just a minute. Make sure all of our edges are tucked away and clean and hidden and not going to fray, especially since this is, you know, a bodice that I'm going to be lacing up and tightening. I wanted to make sure that everything was sewn together really nicely and had some good structure to it. Again, if you were going to do boning, you would want to do that kind of at that stage back there where you're going to put your boning in and get that sewn in before you close up the bottom. So now I'm just closing up that open space where I had flipped things right side out. And then I'm going to connect the front piece to those back pieces, right sides together. I'm so sorry, my voice is starting to go. I have a cold at the moment, so I'm doing the best I can here. Should have made myself a cup of tea before I filmed this. Yeah, so we're getting there. This really was a pretty simple project. Didn't take too long, which is always nice. So I measured out 14 inches for me. That was about right for my straps. So I ended up just doing a big long 28-inch long, well, I guess 29 inches for a little bit of seam allowance there. But cutting that into one big piece, and then I'll just cut it in half, and I'll have my 2 straps ready to go. And then it'll just be a matter of kind of sewing those into a tube, flipping those right side out, ironing them so they're nice and neat, and then getting those attached to the bodice corset top. So then really, I mean, I think the most time-consuming part of this project was figuring out my little pattern piece, since I was kind of making that my own, kind of making sure that that was going to fit properly and that it had the shape that I wanted, because I did have a very specific shape in mind. So that took a little while. Of course, I had to take a little break to nurse a baby. I'm always working on stuff like this during nap time, and Wesley woke up a little bit early, so we had a little nursing break, and then he was playing while I finished up the end of this. So there are my straps ready to go, all ironed and neat. I'm going to attach those to the top in just a moment. My little helper helping me sew. I know some people are going to be annoyed that I was wearing socks while I was sewing. I know you're supposed to do it barefoot. I don't really notice the difference. Okay, I'm so sorry. I know that that's not technically how I'm supposed to do it, but yes, I wear socks sometimes when I'm sewing. So then I just took in the back a little bit because I wanted it to be able to lace up a little bit tighter, and then attach my straps on there. And I was saying before, like, I think the most time-consuming part of this was the kind of figuring out my little pattern piece and the shape that I wanted, and then going through at the end here in just a moment, I'm going to put in the grommets. I think that's what they're called, right? Grommets? I think. Hopefully that's what they're called. I don't know. Like I said, I'm sick at the moment, so my brain is not working quite as well as it normally would, although I don't know. I make mistakes like that all the time. So anyway, I'm going through and putting in the grommets. So this is going to allow me to lace up the back, which is just, I think, so pretty and gives it that really nice, tight fitted, snatched look. Who am I? Like, I don't talk like that. Is that even what snatched means? Did I just, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Bear with me. I'm just doing these an inch apart, kind of going through. It's this cool little tool where you take a hammer and you just punch through these holes through the fabric so that you can then put these grommets into place in those holes. And this way, when you go to lace it up, it's not going to, rip the fabric, and you're able to get it nice and tight as you lace it. You could also go and do some embroidery floss, or, kind of go over the metal on those and make them look a little bit prettier. But that is so time consuming. I did not have time for that today. And I honestly don't really mind the look of the metal ones. So yeah, those are on, and it's just about done. I was just taking this ribbon and kind of showing you the process of doing the lacing in the back, although this ribbon ended up being way too short and I ended up having to go and redo it, but that's okay. You kind of get the idea of lacing it up, and there you have it. I think it turned out so pretty. It's very simple. Again, you could do more, more pieces and seams in this to make it look a little more interesting. You could do some darts here and there to make it fit a little bit more closely, or you could do boning, like I said, but I wanted to keep it simple and, a little bit more wearable. I did lace it up nice and tight, and probably a little bit too tight, as you'll see in the back. But I think it turned out so pretty. It's exactly kind of the thing that I was going for. It has that really cute kind of heart shape to it, which I just really enjoy. And yeah, forgive my skirt in the back. It got tucked kind of weird, but yeah, the pleats should not look like that. I did make this skirt back at Christmas, and it's a good one. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it worked really well with this top. But yeah, it was another one of those skirts that I made from a tablecloth. So if you haven't seen those videos, maybe I'll attach those if I can remember. So anyway, I think it turned out really pretty. Oh yeah, moment of appreciation for this skirt. Can't help but do a twirl. I think it turned out really nice. I'm happy with it. It was pretty simple, and I will definitely hold on to that little pattern piece that I made for future tops like this, or, bodices for dresses, any of that kind of stuff. So thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for bearing with me, and I will be back very soon. Bye.